What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole back here again, giving you guys another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the horror sequel that people had questioning if it's going to be good or not, including myself, and it is Ouija, Origin of Evil. Directed by Mike Flanagan and starring unknown actors like Elizabeth Reeser, Lulu Wilson, Annalise Basso, and Henry Thomas. Origin of Evil is the prequel to the first piece of shit, dog shit, abomination Ouija movie that came out in 2014 that no one even remembers. And this movie is set in the 60s in Los Angeles, and it's about this family and this mother. She's kind of like a paranormal ghost talker, and her two daughters in the film, one's older and one's younger, who are also kind of in the mix of ghosts. They're also going through a passing of a family member, which I don't want to ruin for you guys. And then they purchase this Ouija board, and what do you expect? They get this Ouija board, and the little daughter starts to get, interested in it and starts to get really addicted to it. And of course, some terrible, scary shit goes down, and we have a horror movie. Now, as I said in the opening of this video, guys, this is the horror sequel that everybody had predictions for, saying that it's just going to be as bad as the first Ouija movie. And I was kind of on that hate bandwagon when I saw the trailers for this movie. And then I did my research on it, and I found out that it was going to be directed by Mike Flanagan, and he directed some really good underrated horror movies like Oculus, which people had kind of the same feelings, thinking it's not that scary, but I kind of enjoyed it. And then you had Hush, which is a really scary home invasion thriller that's on Netflix, which people have been saying is really good. Walking out of Ouija, Origin of Evil, my first thoughts were, yes, finally, a good horror sequel. The Conjuring 2 did it earlier this year, and Ouija 2 did it again. This is a good horror sequel. I really enjoyed this movie. It was scary, great performances, and I was on the edge of my seat throughout the majority of this movie. So let's jump into the positives. The performances in this movie were what made it what it was. Starting with the oldest daughter, Annalise Basso. She was really good. And if you didn't know, she's from Oculus. And she did a really good job of bringing that sense of emotion, which makes you kind of care for her. She doesn't want to be in this situation. She's very concerned for her little sister who's going through this shit. And she did a really good job of bringing that out. Henry Thomas plays the priest in this movie. If you didn't know, that's Elliot from E.T., which I totally found out yesterday, which blew my mind. And he did a really good job too. He was also kind of the school teacher, making sure that the girls are getting what they need. And Henry Thomas did a great job. The best performance in this entire movie was the little girl, Lulu Wilson. She was damn creepy in this movie. Starting off the movie, she played kind of that innocent, sweet little girl. And then once the third act comes, man, she gave me the creeps in this movie. And she did a really good job. She is probably one of the scariest children in a horror movie, probably since The Exorcist of Emily Rose. And man, Lulu Wilson was really good. Horror movies that have come out this year have done a really good job with the jump scare element. And Ouija Origin of Evil, the jump scares in this movie were done well. And they're not stupid. They're done at the moment. And what Mike Flanagan does with the jump scares in this movie, he shows you what happens, and then he gives about 5 seconds for you to remember what's going on the big screen. And I thought he did a really good job with the jump scares in this movie. Even though I would say The Conjuring is a little more scarier than this movie, I can say there were some really scary scenes in this movie. Which leads me into the direction from Mike Flanagan. He did great with it. And I knew he was going to bring it with Oculus. And He brings that new element of horror direction that I really like to see. And I'm telling you guys, Mike Flanagan is one of the up and coming horror directors behind James Wan. Look out for that man right there. He's going to do some greatness in this genre. The setting and sound design was also perfect for this movie. As I said, this takes place in the late 60s, and they nailed that aspect perfectly. It really did feel like a horror movie set in the 1960s. I mean, the way they dress, the way the scenery looks. It was perfect, and the sound design mixed with the jump scares is what made me jump. Really, the only problem I had with this movie is the second act. I kind of felt like the intensity jump scares really weren't that scary all in the second act. Like, I really wasn't into it. But then the first and the third act get really good. For example, in the second act, something happens, and I was sitting in my seat thinking to myself, was that really necessary? I mean, it would have made the overall experience a little bit better if you didn't really have that exist. And I was just kind of sitting there like, why did they have to put it in? It felt so much better if they didn't. In the end, a Ouija Origin of Evil was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Great jump scares, great performances, strong direction, and a great horror sequel. On my rating scale, I'm going to give a Ouija Origin of Evil a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And lesson learned, don't mess with the Ouija boards, guys. They're creepy. Alright guys, that was my review for Ouija Origin of Evil. Have you guys seen this movie yet? Are you going to go see it? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Thank you guys as always for watching this review. And if you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe today for more content. All my social media links are in the description down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!